Liverpool 0, Atalanta 3. I mean, what can you say? Where to start with that one? It was terrible. Maybe Liverpool's, not even maybe, absolutely Liverpool's worst performance all season, I think. They were terrible. Really. So, I mean, where to start? I mean, first off, I think you've got to give credit to Atalanta, who were thoroughly good for a 3-0 victory. They totally deserved it. You can't say that it was against the run of play or, they were lucky. They had a game plan and they stuck to it and it worked. And they weren't brilliant on the ball. They weren't fluid. They weren't exciting to watch. They did all the best work without the ball. But that was obviously their plan, and they kind of nullified Liverpool. And Liverpool just didn't have an answer to it. And they had too many players who were having off games and bad games. And maybe you can get away with one or two players like that and let them play into form. But when there's like 4, 5, 6 players who just aren't at the races, you're going to get punished by a team who are just really physical. Atalanta, it's got to be said, they were absolute units. They were like 11, just like Crosby Iron Men. They looked like they were just huge. They were all physical. They were all athletes. And at times, Liverpool got bullied. And I can't really remember seeing Liverpool get physically bullied by a team at Anfield. So it was a hard watch in that respect. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get outplayed and you just got to hold your hands up and say a team can be better on the day or better in general. But it's really hard to see Liverpool get physically dominated like that. So that was a tough one. But in terms of where they go wrong, I mean, try and look at things that went right as well, but there was not really much of that. But in terms of where it went wrong, I think this was the first game where Liverpool really missed Alisson Becker. And I don't want to dig Kelleher out because I think he's been brilliant for Liverpool whenever he's been called on. He's been fantastic. You haven't really seen the levelling goalkeeping drop too much, or if at all. He's stood up in really important moments, and even in this game, he was really good in a one-on-one. In a situation where it could have got much worse for Liverpool much earlier, instead of it got worse for Liverpool much later, so it didn't really matter in the end of the day. But he should have done better for the first goal. That's obvious. But that's not really where I thought he was lacking today, because everyone can make mistakes, everyone could do a little bit better. That wasn't a big deal. Where it was really hard to watch, his distribution was just poor all night. It was awful at times, and it needed them to stand up in those situations, because Atalanta they were trying to stop Liverpool from playing through the middle. They were trying to stop Liverpool playing from the back, and it worked. When Liverpool had a goal kick, they went man for man. They'd have a man each on Canate and Van Dijk. Then they'd have 2 men would step up. One was on Endo, one was on McAllister, and they were working as a double pivots, in those situations. And they just cut off those passing routes. Obviously, Liverpool's full-backs were Tsimikas, Gomez. None of them are really technical enough to receive the ball and kind of compromising positions and play out, because both of them are very much one-footed. So Liverpool were forced to go long, or Curtis Jones would drop in as the third midfielder there and receive the ball, and he'd get on the ball, but then there was nowhere to go because Atalanta were just blocking out these central areas and putting men in positions and really forcing Liverpool to come up with a different solution, and they never. Kelleher would go long a lot, but a lot of it was kind of pondering because there was not a lot of options for him. Nunes really could have done better in, as a traditional number 9 and looking to, hold the ball up or go for flick-ons and let Liverpool get the second ball and stuff like that. But Kelleher he couldn't pick him out too much. Couldn't really pick out many players out too much. Now, maybe I'm looking at Kelleher and being unfair with him. Maybe you should look at the system as a whole. No one was really giving him many options. I think not until Andy Robertson came on later on in the game and was demanding the ball and making these kind of runs that would force Atalanta to kind of move a little bit and maybe find a couple of little spaces. It wasn't until that happened that Liverpool were maybe getting a little bit joy from going long, but certainly for the first half and for most of the second, it just wasn't happening. Maybe Virgil van Dijk has got to drop and get on the ball more in those positions instead of Keller. Van Dijk didn't really see many or if any of those kind of cross-field passes that he really kind of made a name for himself with. So maybe Van Dijk had to step up and be a bit more proactive in those situations. But I think it was 37 minutes. Atalanta scored. As I say, Keller should have been better. But Liverpool didn't seem to react to that. They started off, not slow, but it wasn't really happening for them. And when it didn't happen, after 20, 30 minutes, they just seemed to kind of lose focus, lose that, bit of aggression that they maybe had right at the start. Harvey Elliott started well, I thought. He was kind of pinging passes, doing, crossfield passes, trying to move the ball quickly as he tends to do. And, he deserved to start as well. He's had a number of cameos recently where he's done really well. And he got hooked at half-time, which I thought was a little bit unfair on him, but I think it was necessary to get Mo Salah or on the pitch. Obviously, at half-time, Mo Salah, Dominic Szoboszlai and Robertson came on, and there was maybe an immediate improvement very, very early in the second half, but it didn't really last for long, to be honest. Atalanta scored on 60 minutes, and then from then, Liverpool's heads just seemed to go. They just didn't really seem to believe in themselves that they could find a solution in these games. There was a lot of short passes and stuff like that and working into dead ends, really, because, as I say, Atalanta just nullified that kind of central threat. We didn't really see the width until Robertson came on, but it just wasn't really working. I think at times it was, from where I was sitting, it was a struggle to see what the formation was at times. I was thinking maybe they'd gone back to a 4-4-2 with the substitutions. Then it seemed to be a 4-3-3, people moving in different places, which you want to see. You want to see fluidity, but it didn't look like it was fluid. It would look like they were maybe struggling to know exactly what they should be doing in that situation, because obviously they didn't expect to see themselves 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 down. Maybe that you can possibly question their attitude going into the game, and I hate doing that, because I'm sure all those players will be gutted at what happened, and I'm sure all of them, went into the game thinking that they were, going to find these solutions and they were going to dominate Atalanta, but it didn't happen. So you just got to try and think, why did it happen? Is it tiredness? Is it too many games? The effect of these injuries that we've had, is it finally kind of, taking its toll on some of these players' legs? But I don't know what it is. I mean, we had Curtis Jones back today. Didn't really work out for Curtis. He looked, he was second to the ball a lot of the time. I think maybe you could see the fact that he's been out for a number of months was, very evident on how he was not getting caught out of position, but physically it wasn't quite where at the level that he'd want to be. So it didn't work out. Maybe people are expecting an easier ride in this game, hence him starting, but it didn't really work out for him. It was just a tough watch all around. I'm trying to think of pluses. It's not many. It was kind of warm in Anfield. That was kind of nice. That's about it. Cody Gakpo, I think maybe he was one of the plus points. I thought Cody Gakpo had a good game. Taken a lot of stick recently. Been out of form recently as well, admittedly. But he looked decent for the whole game when he was getting on the ball. He was looking to drive the ball forward. He was, those kind of progressive carries, if you want to use that kind of modern term. But he was good. His dribbling was excellent. He was aggressive and all these kind of things, but not a real threat. He started on the left. He ended up as a centre forward. The threat wasn't quite there. So yeah, it was tough. What next, Liverpool? There's Crystal Palace on Sunday at Anfield. It's got to be a massive, massive reaction from those players. I think it's a pivotal point in the season. You know, because I think if they're going into next Thursday with any hope of getting anything from this tie, and personally, I'd be very, very shocked if Liverpool can score 3 in Atalanta. But if they've got any hope of doing that, they've got to turn the season round now. You know, because it's at a pivotal moment when they could be into free fall. You know, they look a little bit shell shocked. They don't look super confident. I think if they can pour in a professional performance against Palace, score a few goals, maybe get themselves back top the league this weekend. Hopefully, I can inspire something in the second leg here. It's not over. I think if it ends up 2-0 or Liverpool score, I thought that Salah one looked onside from where I was sitting. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet, so I guess it must have been offside, but it must have been tight. But that goal goes in, you think, well, Liverpool have got a shot, or, you know, maybe if it ends up 3-1, Liverpool have got a shot. At 3-0, it's away from home. It's a real tough one. It's going to take, I think, all of, not just the players' efforts, but Klopp and Linders and that whole team have got to, you know, get their heads into it and figure something out, figure out a way to kind of approach this unique situation. But at this moment, Liverpool are still in the Europa League, and maybe this is, you know, another great chapter that's almost to be written. Who knows? Maybe it's not. But I just want to see a bit of fight from them next time in this second leg, and, you know, go down swinging and see what happens. But yeah, not a good one tonight. Congratulations to Atalanta. The fans and the players went mental when that third goal went in, and rightfully so, because I don't think many people would have given them any hope of getting anything from this game. Maybe a draw, but certainly no one had them down for winning 3-0. So sometimes you just got to say congratulations, and, you know, we'll see you next time away from home, and we'll see what happens. But, you know, it's one to forget about, move on, look forward to Sunday, and hopefully Anfield will be bouncing on Sunday. There's not many Jurgen Klopp games left at Anfield, you know, so let's get behind the team and, you know, up the Reds.